Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Angels with Scaly Wings. I'm not really sure what route I want to take now. I've done the evil ending, I've done the neutral, and I've got some good and bad. I think I need to try for a bad ending now. So let's see what we can do about that. Because I think once I get all the good endings, I can go for the true ending. So I'll hold back on those for the time being, and we'll work on some bad endings. Let's have a look. I don't know, I think I'm on, I don't know, chapter 1 or 2, or I can't remember where I am at. But if you talk to Emera in Tatsu Park, once you've done one of Remy's normal endings, it unlocks an event with her. So yeah, we're going to meet with Emera. I really don't like Emera. I think she's a complete arsehole. So this should be interesting. This should be the right place. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. Oh, here goes nothing. It's quite a plush apartment she's got here. Here we go. What a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect you to take me up on my offer. I'm sure you're a very busy person. I have no doubt the same is true for you. I'm sorry I have to say this, but I won't have much time for you today. As edifying as your visit is no doubt going to be, I have a meeting to attend shortly. However, I'm still grateful you came to visit. I'm sure someone of your standing is always busy. Thank you for taking the time. Charming as always, aren't you? So what exactly is this? An official meeting? A trade negotiation? Oh please, this is just two people having a conversation. After all, we still owe you for the PDA devices you gave us, so until we deliver our part, there's nothing to negotiate. Gotcha. If it was up to me though, I'd rather listen to you all day than having to work through this stack of paperwork. Is it really all that boring? Well, sometimes. It's just an unpleasant part of the job, I suppose. In the end, working as the Minister of Culture and Arts involves just as much paperwork as any other bureaucratic position. On some days, I have to keep reminding myself that there are actual people and problems behind those numbers, and those are the people I'm responsible for. One mistake, and those people turn against you faster than something that is very fast. That's why I prefer to go where the people are rather than being stuck back here. It just makes things clearer than the abstraction of words and numbers. Okay, is that what this is for you? A game or a popularity contest? I may use the law, Ushio, but I don't break it. As much as I may dislike it, a game is certainly what this is. When I came into office, it didn't take long for me to realise that you can't win if you don't play. Aha. Let me ask you one thing. Do you enjoy your work as ambassador? I do. Lucky are those whose purpose is enjoyable. Too bad not all of us are. That doesn't sound like you enjoy your job very much though. Well, look at it this way. Just one term of having been on the council, and I'll have left my mark. One term of being stuck behind a desk with my paperwork, at least I get to do something where I can make a difference, even if it doesn't happen very often. Culture and arts don't exactly give me much room for doing what I want to, you know. Still, I prefer stacks of papers and meetings to working in a mine and pulling carts or logs, or whatever else they would have us earth dragons typically do. When I look at those who have to do hard manual labour, I can't help but feel empathy toward them. I'm impressed by their tenacity to work in conditions that I would never want to. I wish to help them. Okay, well, so what about those who enjoy that kind of work? Sure, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those like myself who are just not cut out for that kind of job. Being in charge of your visit in this world, however, has been quite an opportunity. Was it just that then, an opportunity? Of course not. I've been a staunch believer in humanism for a long time. Humanism? The belief in humans and their contribution to our existence. Okay, fine. Some people say I only took this matter into my hands as just another publicity stunt, but I can assure you my feelings on the matter are genuine regardless. Pun intended. I would argue that making it a public spectacle only confirms my position on the matter. In the end, I don't have any hard feelings, because I know the critics are only another part of the job I have to deal with. You should see how quick they are to jump at my throat and second guess every decision I've ever made. How ironic it is for people like that to have a platform where they can spout their opinions when I'm the one making all the hard decisions. It doesn't matter though. I know that I will never please everyone, but my numbers do speak for themselves. In the end, it's all just a great self-sacrifice to make a difference. Wow, she's kind of full of herself. And is that why you became a politician? I'd like to think it was all preordained. Wow. My parents were the vehicle, so I could get this far. That reminds me of this book I've seen. It was called Born to Serve, I think. How very perceptive of you. Indeed, I happen to have quite a fondness for it, since Avdon's experience is not unlike my own. I always knew I was destined for greatness, just like my parents before me. However, they thought I would need to work hard like them to get here. That's where they were mistaken. I grew up as an only child in a village mostly known for its mining industry. My father was a very business-minded individual. He worked hard to provide for us and advance his career, whereas my mother was more of a spiritual person. After years of saving up, they combined their interests and created a new business out of nothing, a gamble that paid off handsomely. I did what was expected of me. I studied and worked hard until I came to resent it. By that point, I was at the crossroads in regards to my future career. My parents wanted me to continue my studies, but I decided against doing that. Studying and working hard so that I may study and work hard ad infinitum wasn't something that was particularly appealing to me. In the end, I didn't see the difference between working hard in the mines and studying perpetually. Instead, I started to look for alternative options. There was an opening for a political position, and I decided to seize the opportunity and applied for it. At the time, I wasn't sure whether to be surprised at the fact that I got the position, but if I look back at it now, it certainly shouldn't have. I was very qualified for the job, and I also had the feeling that my parents might have persuaded those in power because they knew this would be another step up for our family. Persuaded them? How? This is only speculation, of course, but I wouldn't put it past them to do something like that, no matter if it was with words, gifts, or something else. Okay, so how's that worked out for you? Now that I'm here, the stacks of books have merely been replaced by stacks of paperwork. But at least I'm popular though. Are you really? I know I'm polarising, but why try to please everyone and accomplish nothing when I know it's impossible to please everyone in the first place? It is a departure from the usual way of thinking, and while not liked by everyone, some of my moves have been lauded by a great majority. My strategy is to take risks that may or may not pay off when I know I have nothing to lose, rather than playing it safe and just perpetuating the status quo. Nothing to lose, wow. I'm not afraid of political suicide because I don't value the position itself. I only value the opportunities I'm given while having this power. So long as I have it, I shall use it until I can no longer do so. My approach has been called daring or brave just as much as it has been derided by others who don't like what I'm doing. I'm not sure if this will start a trend or if there will be others who follow suit, but either way I'll be glad once my term is over. Okay, so what are you going to do then? People who've been on the council usually don't have trouble finding a job to their liking, but I wouldn't even need to do that. I'm settled for life and could retire now if I wanted to. Retire, is that what you want to do then? I already feel like I've left my mark and seen everything there is to see in the political landscape, so once this is over, I'd like to settle down for good and start a family. Really? I'm the only child. My parents want me to make them some grandchildren and to continue the lineage, so all that responsibility rests on me now that I've proven my worth. Okay, is that what you want to do? In this case, I'd agree with them. Frankly, I'm tired of all the work, more so than ever before. Besides, it would be a shame to let everything they built go to waste, don't you think? Okay, so what's that supposed to mean? I'm talking about our family fortune, of course. And what would a family fortune be without a family? Okay, I see. The funny thing is, they were never like this when I was growing up. It was only after they made it big that they started to get all self-important about it, illusions of grandeur included. Now that I'm getting older, I'm sad to say it's not exactly getting easier. I probably would have had better chances if I started a family first and tried to have a career afterwards. Okay, why is that? Being no like I am has made me popular, but it's making things complicated on the relationship front. On one hand, there are those that immediately disregard me due to my public image and my politics. On the other, we have those that are only interested in me because of being well known. In a way, I'm getting evaluated before I even have the chance of getting to know someone, or before they even get to know the person behind the politics. No matter if positive or negative, these snap judgments create sort of a proto-relationship that I had no input in and causes them to have certain expectations and opinions about me. I suppose you can't change someone's mind if they've already made it up. Oh, you can, it's just not easy to do. Not that dating isn't already complicated enough as it is. Maybe it'll be easier once your term is over. People may not recognise you as much. Maybe. It also doesn't help that there's a rather limited selection for prospective fathers in this town. I didn't even consider that. Maybe I'll return to my hometown once my term is over. Okay, can I ask you something? You've already asked me a lot of things since you came here. I'm sure one more won't hurt. Why did you employ Remy? Ooh, here's a question. You see, politics is a rather unusual field here. As a pursuit that mostly requires intellectual ability, it's very open to members of any and every species who wishes to apply to such an office. However, the council members themselves are responsible for the workers they employ to help with their office's duties, and that is an area where certain standards and prejudices are already starting to seep in. The council members either employ members of their own species, or they pick members of a species that are stereotypically used in that area. Shortly after I came into office, I was faced with the question of who to employ to take care of the archives. I didn't really know a suitable candidate that I wished to employ off the top of my head, so I had to make do with the applicants I received. They were numerous. Among them was a number of hopefuls from my hometown who had banked on the idea that I would employ someone I already knew or from my own species. I could have hired one of them, but I had to realise that this decision, my first in the office, would already be under scrutiny. It certainly would have been very unusual to hire an Earth Dragon to take care of the archives, but I was sure it would have been looked on from a certain angle with a certain bias. They would have claimed that I only employed another Earth Dragon because they belonged to the same species or came from the same town as me. They wouldn't even consider that I made the decision based on merit. With the same bias thinking being present in the applicants, it would have been hard to find anyone among them who was actually suited to the position of working in the archives. Typically, the position is held by species with proper hands, as it is often necessary to handle small and precious objects in the archives, but since I typically don't do things the typical way, I wanted to do something different. After I sorted out the applicants that only seemed to want to be there to advance their career or to have something important to put on their resume, the remaining number was actually fairly small. Remy was the only one that stood out to me from the rest. I wondered about his rationale to even apply for the position, given that it was unheard of for a member of his species to be caretaker of the archives. Either he was incredibly naive, or he knew his chances were practically nil, but was willing to try regardless. I was curious to find out when I invited him to the job interview. He seemed genuinely enthusiastic and had a passion for the subject, qualities I was looking for. He also had a background that actually made him well qualified for the position, at least on paper. Ultimately, he reminded me of my parents and how they managed to break out of their mould and make it big by doing their own thing. I saw an opportunity that aligned with my own goals. Of course, there are also practical considerations, but I thought with time and practice and his tireless nature, any difficulties could be overcome. Maybe he could rise above his peers just like my parents did. I only gave him the same chance. I knew I was making a gamble, but I thought that someone like him, it could very well pay off. Going against every recommendation, guidance and advice I received, I ultimately decided to hire him, a decision that immediately made big headlines. It was the beginning of the trend that would give me the image I have now. There was a lot of coverage about it, and I think it gave Remy a lot more attention than he wanted. This might have been a good thing if he did his job well, but this didn't turn out to be the case. The first time he messed up, I made a joke about it and told him that this happens to everyone a few times, if only it had stayed at just a few times. Soon enough, my decision made more headlines from the cynical critics who lambasted me, citing his shortcomings as evidence. Of course, I couldn't go easy on him during that time. He wanted the job, so I held him to the standards of the job. If I treated him any differently, it would have only gotten worse. He might have had to work twice as hard, but if he can't do the job, maybe he isn't cut out to do it. But if he can, he'll have proven his worth to the whole town. I heard that isn't working out so well for him though. Tell me about it. It's one of my few decisions that haven't ended up working in my favour, even though many people were all for it when it was initially announced. Okay, so why don't you replace him? That wouldn't be such a good idea. For one, it would only prove the people right, who doubt that I made the right choice, and secondly, it would only draw attention to the whole issue all over again. Which is unfortunate. Luckily, I made enough headlines these days for it to not matter much anymore. Oh, I'm going to be late for my meeting if I don't hurry up. Would you mind helping me with this? Hornshine? What's that? Just some colour for my horns. Okay. You're painting them, what for? It's a public outing. Are you telling me you don't do things to make yourself look different? We do. I just didn't expect your horns would be one of those things. I see. Well, the brush is over there, so get it and get going. Okay. I walked over to her table, where I saw the brush among a number of other tools I couldn't quite place and a few stacks of papers. She really hadn't been exaggerating when she mentioned her workload. Okay, anything I need to know before I get on with this? Not really. You know how a brush works, don't you? Sure do. Just so as you know, I'll blame you in front of the whole council if you mess up. Fine. I removed the cork from the glass bottle that was filled with a red, somewhat viscous liquid. After dipping the brush into it, I started to paint her horn in a bright red. It only took a few applications for the horn to be covered completely. Okay, is that how you want it? Oh, we're not done yet. Don't forget my elbow and those on my neck. Okay. This is weird. That should do it. Let me take a look. She walked up to the mirror and turned her head a few times so she could see herself from every angle. Not too shabby. Maybe you would make a good assistant. Okay, so she's all dolled up now. For you, anytime. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyway, how does it look? What do you think of the colour? Goes well with your makeup and jewellery. Contrasts nicely with their natural colour. I thought they looked nice before. Contrasts nicely with your natural colour. Goes well, goes well. Thank you, that's exactly what I was going for. You know what? All that sitting around is making my back so horribly stiff. Would you mind giving me a massage? I could certainly use one right now. Not at all. You're a real lifesaver. I know it's a strange request, but having to sit in the office for hours on end working through all the papers takes its toll on my body. You know, my kind tends to be very physical, and I haven't quite gotten used to this office lifestyle yet. She lay down on the mat and pillow she had quickly produced from somewhere and presented her back to me. I briefly wondered if she kept these items in her office for occasions just like this one. Okay, we're gonna massage her. Okay, what am I doing? You can start at the neck and work your way down. Well, I don't know much about massaging on Earth Dragon. What kind of movements are we talking about here? Just put your palms on it and start rubbing in circles. Don't hold back. I assure you that we Earth Dragons can take anything you can dish out. Okay. I put my hands on a rather girthy neck and did as she told me, rubbing my palms on it in a circular motion. I was about to ask her if I was doing it right, and I heard her voice. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Just be careful around the spines. I think we both don't want this to end with an impaled hand. After she had mentioned them, I couldn't help but watch her spines a bit more closely while I continued with my ministrations. They seemed to be made of the same material as the horn on her muzzle. Even though they were not as girthy, they still started out with a rather wide base, ultimately culminating in a point that didn't seem sharp enough to cause any damage by accident. When I resumed my treatment, she suddenly bucked, her spines only missing me by inches as she suddenly threw her head up. I guess she wasn't kidding about watching the spines. Okay, fearing a bit for my safety, I moved down to her shoulders. Your hands are wonderful. She really likes it. This is weird. Okay, is that so? The movements, the incomparably soft skin on your hands. Okay, I'll take that as a compliment. It most certainly is. I moved further down her back, noticing the increased roughness and armour that covered her there. Don't hold back, put your strength into it, or I won't even feel a thing. Following her guidance, I increased the pressure from my palms more and more. Harder! I gave it everything I could, and as I kept going at her, I noticed the muscles beneath her armour softening noticeably. You know how to please, don't you? Apparently I do. Indeed. By this point, I had moved down to her hips, giving them the same treatment as with the rest of her body. Yeah, that's the spot. You don't know what having to sit in an office all day does to my hips. Unrelentingly, I continued, vowing not to stop until every last knot in her muscles was gone. Don't stop now, give it all you got. I went faster, tenderizing her like a rump steak. What the hell? Okay, yeah, just like that. Yes, yes. And with that, my treatment was done. Her hips were now soft and supple as jello-filled beanbag. Aha. That was amazing. Oh, yeah, thanks. If you were to open a massage parlour here, you would have no shortage of customers. Okay, is that so? Your hands are truly magical. They are a gift. Don't waste it. I'll keep that in mind. Anyway, I should probably head off to my meeting, and I'm sure you also have places to be. Maybe I'll see you again. I'm sure of it. Okay, what an interesting lady.